Okay, That Funny Feeling by Bo Burnham as covered by Phoebe Bridgers. As usual, I will put a chart for this available on my Patreon, which is in the description. But I'll also try to explain everything as well as I can here in the lesson. Standard tuning with the capo at the 4th fret. I used, as I think she does, her thumb to do all the strumming, but you could do it with the pick. You could do a lot of styles with this hand if you want. There's on the recording that she did, there seems to be 2 guitars, I think. And sometimes on the G, you can hear that open B. So I think sometimes it's this kind of G. So this is G with, first finger on the 2nd fret of the A, 2nd finger on the 3rd fret of the low E, and 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the high E, and then open B. And sometimes I think one of the guitars is playing more like this G, which is like 2nd finger on the 3rd fret of the low E, leaning over to mute the A string, 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the B, and pinky on the 3rd fret of the high E, right? The other chord that is, I think, different on at least one of the guitars on the recording and the way she plays it live is C, the next chord, which I hear this C on the recording. This is 1st finger on the 1st fret of the B, 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the D, 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the low E, and pinky on the 3rd fret of the A. But live, and possibly one of the guitars on the recording is playing like this C or maybe this C. So this is basically where if you're in this G, so G with the 2nd finger on the 3rd fret of the low E, 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the B, and pinky on the 3rd fret of the high E. And then basically you just keep the 3rd finger and 4th finger where they are, and then you either just move your 2nd finger from the 3rd fret on the low E to the 3rd fret on the A. So this becomes like a C add 9, C sus2 kind of chord. The other option, she likes to play this chord a lot, is that, but also with the 1st finger on the 3rd fret of the low E. So that chord change becomes this G to this C. All right, so the intro is just 4 bars of G. There's a general strumming pattern which is kind of like this offbeat kind of thing, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can try this, like on beat 1, just play maybe just the low string. So in the case of the G chord, just play just the low E string, 1, and then on beat 2, play just the high strings, like the top 4 strings, D, G, B, and E. So you go boom, cha, then it's like a break, and then you play beat 4. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And then sort of the same thing in the next measure. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and something like that. As usual with strumming, keep your hand moving in the rhythm. That'll always help. But that feeling of 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. You can keep that going the whole song, and that'll sound right. The intro is just 4 bars on the G. So the verse then starts with 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 bars on G, and then 1 bar on C, and then 1 bar on G. And it does that twice. And like I said, so when I did the performance just now, most of the times I went like from this G to this G to this C. But sometimes, like in the 3rd verse, I did the other C. It's the same idea. So it's 2 bars on G, 1 bar on C, 1 bar on G. Whichever C and whichever G decide to do. Okay, so the pre-chorus starts with an A minor. First finger on the first fret of the B, second finger on the second fret of the D, third finger on the second fret of the G. And then it goes to, the next chord is a D, but it's not like a regular D that she plays. It's this D, which is like this C, just moved up 2 frets, right? So technically it makes it like a D, add 4, add 9, add 2. But yeah, if you know this C that we talked about, it's this. So it's going to be the first finger on the 3rd fret of the B, the second finger on the 4th fret of the D, the 3rd finger on the 5th fret of the low E, and the pinky on the 5th fret of the A. It's a really pretty chord. So it's 1 bar on A minor, 1 bar on this weird D, then an E minor. I like to play with my 2nd and 3rd fingers in this case, but you could also do it with your 1st and 2nd. So I'm doing my 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the A and my 3rd finger on the 2nd fret of the D. That's 1 bar on that, and then this C. That same C that has the note on the low E string. Then you repeat that, A minor for a bar, weird D, E minor for a bar, C. Now the second time when you repeat it, you spend an extra bar on the C. And sometimes in that extra bar, you can mess around with the note on the D string. So the second finger can pick up, which makes it, you know, like a C sus2 for a second. So you're like, you can play around with that. It's like, if you listen for it in that moment, you might hear it like, you know, it's a cool thing to know how to do. So you can work on that. Okay, so the chorus. G for 2 bars, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. A minor for 2 bars, E minor for 1 bar, C for 1 bar, and then repeat that. G for 2 bars, A minor for 2 bars, feeling, E minor for 1 bar, C for 1 bar. And then same trick as at the end of the pre-chorus. The second time when you repeat it, stay on the C for an extra bar. And if you want, you can mess around with that. Okay, so the form of the song, there's the intro, which is 4 bars on the G. Then there's a verse that's just 1 time of the verse. Then there's a chorus. Then there's a verse that's 2 times of the verse, then the chorus. Then there's a verse that's 2 times of the verse, but the second time it holds, right? That's the only difference with that verse. Then there's another pre-chorus and chorus. Which brings you to the outro. So the outro, 2 bars on the G, then 2 bars on A minor, then 2 bars on like F/F major 7. So you could play this a couple different ways. I would kind of recommend this. First finger on the 1st fret of the B, second finger on the 2nd fret of the G, 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the A, pinky on the 3rd fret of the D, and then don't strum the low E string. And you can have the high E be open. So that makes it an F major 7. If you go like this, it's a regular F. Now you could, what I was doing is looping my thumb around to grab the 1st fret on the low E. Right? That's also an F major 7. But if you have a hard time doing that, I just wouldn't worry about it doing it. You could, if you like playing this F, big bar chord F, you may do that. It would be fine too. It is, I think, an F major 7. You can kind of hear that note in there. So G for 2 bars. Say it was A minor for 2 bars. And then F major 7 for 2 bars. And then C for 2 bars. So that one's nice and symmetrical. And again, you could mess with that D string note. I got a little more lively with the strumming in the outro, you know? But yeah, if you want to get more lively, just do more up, down, and hit more strings while you do it. All right. Hopefully that all makes sense. As usual, please let me know if you have any questions or comments or concerns or requests or ideas or thoughts or dreams or hopes or ambitions. And thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a good weekend or week if you're watching this on a Monday or Tuesday.